You know, it has been a while since I've been here doing this. I say that I think every single time I take a break in between videos, but I wanted to get back to it. I told you a little while ago I was getting back to it. That was a little bit of a lie. Hey, here I am. I've gotten some videos out. It's a little bit of a struggle for me, but I'm doing it. But today I wanted to talk about a pretty good game, a pretty good remake as they call it. That's right, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. It's a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Everyone probably knows that. You know, I finished it recently. I wanted to make a video. I was in the video making mood, and I thought, why not talk about that game for a little bit? Now, this might not be the longest video, but let's just get into it. You know, this game is absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful.
They did a really good job remaking it. I really enjoyed playing through it. It was a very smooth game gameplay-wise. There was some issues with performance, but all in all, this was a very faithful remake to the original Metal Gear Solid 3. I think Konami did a great job remaking it, making it really faithful, but at the same time, making it original in its own ways.
Same, but different. But still same.
And I gotta say, I love to see David Hayter return as Big Boss, kind of return. They reused some dialogue, re-recorded some dialogue, but it was good to see a return of the original Big Boss, and I was really happy to see that all of the little Metal Gear Solid 3 details were still brought over, along with some of the Easter eggs.
What?
Now, actually getting into the game, right at the start, I gotta say, I just love that they ask you the question of which Metal Gear Solid is your favorite. They go through the list, you know, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, blah blah blah, Snake Eater Pizza. You know, they ask you which one's your favorite, and depending on which one you choose, you know, it gives you one or two things that you start the game with, be it a camo or something else. And I really thought that was cool. I chose Peace Walker. I know it's interesting, but that is one of my favorite Metal Gear Solid games. Even though it was a PSP game, I think they did that game fantastic. But, you know, I chose that one. And there's even a really funny reference if you choose Metal Gear Solid 2. But, you know, right after loading up, initial thoughts are, wow, this is beautiful. And then those thoughts are quickly followed up by another, wow, this is nostalgic. This feels like something I've played in the past. It feels like you have deja vu. Unreal Engine 5 really carries the environments, and, you know, performance issues aside, as I've said probably 5 times in this video already, this game is truly beautiful. Some of the environments are looking fantastic. You know, all of the environments are looking fantastic, whether you're in a Russian building, whether you're in a factory or a Shagahad hangar, or if you're outside in the woods or on a... There are so many different environments, and they did a really good job carrying those environments over into Unreal Engine 5, and it really carries how great the game looks. As I said, performance issues aside, I'll talk about that later. But, you know, speaking of environments, if you've played Metal Gear Solid 3, you will quickly find the locations extremely familiar. They did a great job carrying the maps over. They even have it in different sections, kind of like how they had Metal Gear Solid 3, where there's a loading in between each section. It is not a completely open game, and some might not like that, but honestly, I think it makes it feel a lot more like the original. I think Delta is just a better looking Metal Gear Solid 3. Even from like the main menu loading screen, you'll notice some of the images that are flashing. Those are just taken right out of Metal Gear Solid 3 and enhanced with Unreal Engine 5 pretty much. I know it's not that simple, but you know what I mean. And unlike some remakes like the Dead Space remake, This game is a lot more familiar layout-wise. You're gonna know where you're going if you've played Metal Gear Solid 3. You know, the Dead Space remake wanted to change things up, wanted to give it, you know, it was for the horror's sake, I guess, so you didn't know where you were going, but they completely changed the map. That's not how it is with Metal Gear Solid Delta. They kept things extremely the same, extremely similar to how they had it in Metal Gear Solid 3. I mean, it is still Metal Gear Solid 3, I guess, but things like missions, dialogue, as I said, weapons, all of the different weapon types from the real-world weapon names. Most of the dialogue is the same exact dialogue that was just ported over from Metal Gear Solid 3. They did re-record some scenes, but it sounds great. You would never know. I thought they would have re-recorded the whole game, but according to the internet, they did not. They just re-enhanced, or they enhanced the old dialogue.
The world used to be whole. But with the end of the Second World War, the philosophers began to fight amongst themselves, and the world was torn apart. The Cobras, my comrades who trained and fought alongside me, were torn apart as well. The foibles of politics and the march of time can turn friends into enemies just as easily as the wind changes. Ridiculous, isn't it?
Which is pretty awesome. They're keeping things anchored to the original game, keeping things Kojima-fied. I mean, we even get to see a Guy Savage remake when you fall asleep in the jail cell. We get to see Guy Savage. It's you know, it's the little mini game they gave you. If you don't know about Guy Savage, that was going to be another game that Konami was going to release, but they ended up canceling it, and we got a little bit of a demo in the original Metal Gear Solid 3, and they're kind of teasing it again. I don't think they're going to make that game at all. I think they wanted to bring everything from Metal Gear Solid 3 over to Metal Gear Solid Delta, so you know, Guy Savage is part of it. They're going to bring that over. And I just think, if you liked Metal Gear Solid 3, there's no reason you wouldn't like Metal Gear Solid Delta. It is practically the same exact game. There are some differences, tiny differences, but all in all, they did a really faithful job. Konami, good job on this one. You're killing it with the remakes. You did a good job with the Silent Hill 2 remake. I thought that was a fantastic game. I barely just finished it recently. I had the last like hour left that I didn't finish in Silent Hill 2. I was like, I already know how it ends. Do I need to finish it? But I did, finally. This isn't about Silent Hill 2, though. This is about Metal Gear Solid Delta. Okay, now, some may ask, what are my personal thoughts on it? And honestly, I really enjoyed it. I've said that multiple times. I keep saying that I've said stuff because I keep repeating myself, because, again, it's just a great game. And it feels good to play Big Boss again. For those who don't know, from Metal Gear Solid 5, we learn, spoilers, you're not playing as Big Boss, and it's a 10-year-old game or whatever, but you're not actually playing as the true Big Boss. You're not playing as the true Big Boss in Metal Gear Solid 4, so, you know, we haven't played as Naked Snake since, I think, Peace Walker, and he wasn't even Naked Snake in that one, I don't think, technically, but hey, it feels good to be Naked Snake again. And circling back to the beginning, I really actually enjoyed that they asked that question of, which Metal Gear Solid is your favorite? And you get that funny Raiden scene. If you go through the game too, which is pretty cool, if you go through every single one of those, sure, you'll have to play a bunch, but you might notice some other differences, or you might notice some playthroughs might be easier with some of the equipment they give you, or some of the camo. And it gives you some more replayability, which I really enjoy. On top of replayability, there is a new game plus where you get to bring weapons over and everything. There's also some weapons that you can unlock that give you like permanent, if it's new game plus or not, you will start with those weapons, along with some face paints. All of this was Metal Gear Solid 3. We all know this stuff already. It's pretty awesome. You know, I will say playing it instantly felt nostalgic. Sure, it looked new. It looked completely different. You knew where you were. You knew the environments, but it looked beautiful.
Nice.
But as soon as everything picked up, you knew exactly what you were playing. You knew you were playing Metal Gear Solid 3. You knew where to go. At least I did. Well, kind of. You know, I played Metal Gear Solid 3 when I was a child, so I don't really remember all that much. I just remember thoroughly enjoying that game. And then, while playing, one thing I noticed, I got like an hour or two into the game, noticed I did not get hit once. And if you don't know about Delta, there's a cool system that when you get hit, you have to heal yourself, you already know, but it leaves bruises and scars and nicks and all of that stuff all over your body. So I noticed I didn't get hit. I noticed I was still clean, naked Snake. So I decided, what if I did a no-hit run? Could I be able to do that? And it was going good. I did get hit a few times, but I would reload, and I got extremely far into the game. You know, I did take a couple of hits from scorpions and spiders or snakes. I don't know. It was the environment. It was creatures. I did not get shot or punched once. I got through all of the bosses without getting hit. Volgin was a pain. I cannot count the amount of times I restarted that mission before realizing I could shoot him in the back. As I said, I played Metal Gear Solid 3 when I was a child, but I did everything so well without getting hit. Until I get to that stupid, I can only describe it as the Star Wars indoor scene when you're flying through the woods, Eva's driving the motorcycle, and there's people on the hovercrafts coming after you. Ugh. I posted a short about it. I'll throw that up on screen really quick. That was the most infuriating part of this entire playthrough. I would shoot them in the head. I would go. I restarted that probably 60 times just because I kept getting hit and I kept getting hit. It took me 2 days before I went, whatever. If I get hit, I get hit. And I think I got hit once or twice, so that destroyed the no-hit run. Unless you count the creatures. I didn't count the creatures. I said, I'm not going to get hit by any people. This is a personal challenge. Until I got to that stupid mission. Ugh, that was so frustrating. I cannot explain it. At the end of everything, I took 5 major hits. That's it. 5 major hits. And I did not lose a single health bar, so I gotta say I'm pretty proud about that. That was pretty awesome. And I finished the game. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved almost every single thing about that game, from the little dialogue sections. One cool thing, too, I realized while playing, was remembering playing Metal Gear Solid 3 when I was a small child. I loved it. I played Peace Walker. It made me, want to play the other games. The only game I haven't actually played was Metal Gear Solid 4, because it's only on PS3. Never mind that. I've watched the playthrough multiple times. That game is fantastic. I just want to remaster Metal Gear Solid 4 next. Why not? I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 3 when I was a kid. I loved it. And, you know, playing Delta now, it brings me back. And with all of the new stuff, and like graphic-wise, even if it's not much, even if you can't really call it a remake as much of a remaster, you still get that childlike wonder of trying different things out and doing different tricks to see if it'll work, like cutting the rope on the bridge to see if it'll make the guy fall. I don't know, it gives you that childlike nostalgia back, but it doesn't feel like you're playing a really old game. It still gives you that new graphics, and it still makes you want to do something different to see if something different happens. I don't know how to explain it. I think they just did that really well. All in all, though, Konami did a really fantastic job on this remake. Metal Gear Solid Delta is amazing. It's a great remake, if you can even call it a remake. And I know that Kojima wasn't involved in remaking Snake Eater. I know when someone asked him in an interview if he was gonna play Delta, he just kind of chuckled about it, which doesn't seem like he's very interested in Delta, but you can still find all of his weird, funky, fantastic bits and bobs in this game, which just reminds you who was behind the original, and it still feels like, even though he didn't have a part in the remake, you know he still had a part in Snake Eater. So it's really good to see that they didn't push that out or try to block any of his weirdness. But I think this video is as long as it needs to be. I just wanted to talk about Snake Eater. It's not a new game by any means. It is just a remade game, so you can only say so much about it that others haven't said in the past, and I know it's been out a couple of weeks, so sorry it took me a sec to get to this. But hey, I'm back. I am back. Prepare yourselves. I say it a lot, and I've said it a lot in the past, but I am not gone. y'all should expect a lot more videos coming from Borderlands 4 to taking a look at Death Stranding for the first time. I've got a lot of stuff planned, and I'm in the creative mood. I'm in the mood to make stuff, so expect some more in the future. If you haven't already, hit that like and definitely subscribe to the channel to see more. If you want to hear some cool, probably not very good music, go check out Billy the Whip on any music platform, and hey, have a fantastic day. It's good to be back.